the drum. Nobody told them. You better get that in writing. And here's the woman that you need to know. There's someone you should know. So what do you want to do? I just want to get in the business. There's someone you should know. So do you know who Harry Fox is? Tell me to do from church to the big. There's someone you should know. But where do I need to go? The Professor Butler Show.
I always hear a lot of people when they talk about their music, and I ask them if their work is registered, and they'll say, oh yeah, I'm with ASCAP. Oh, they say, yeah, I'm with BMI. Which says to me, number one, you don't know what I'm asking when I ask if your work is registered. And number two, you don't know what ASCAP and BMI do, which is really dangerous. Right? There are several places where if you are a songwriter or the owner of a master, a sound recording, or the owner of any type of intellectual property, where you can and should be registering your music to obtain the most profit, meaning the most royalties. And somebody asked the questions about royalties a minute ago, so I'll tie royalties in with the registration. Meaning the reason you register in certain places is so that you can collect certain royalties. So the first registration I'll talk about is copyright registration. Now, does anybody have a CD with them? Anybody have a CD? Hold up your CD. If you have a CD, just hold it up so I can see it, because I want to do a little show and tell. You got a CD in that body? No. Oh, okay. Anybody got a CD? Because I want to do some show and tell. I know what, okay, I was going to say all these artists in here, nobody got no product? Okay, there we go. In that CD, and actually bring it to me, if you don't mind, sir, because I want to I'll give you a free plug.
A free plug?
Yeah. Are you the owner? See, it took too long. The opportunity knocks, you got to be ready to answer that door. Okay, what's your name, sir? You're Paul. Are you the owner of the compositions on this CD? Are you the owner of this recording? And you write the compositions? These are beats, right? Okay, so you're the beat master, right? And you actually own these recordings. Okay, thank you, sir. Have a seat. Paul Sweeney, ladies and gentlemen. There are two copyrights that I'm holding in my hand, which is why I asked Paul the questions that I did. One of the copyrights are the copyrights in the composition, the songs, the lyrics, the words, or the music that Paul created. Now, Paul writes beats, right? Beats are music, which means Paul is a songwriter. And I've got to drill that into your head, because a lot of times when you make tracks or when you make beats, you don't consider yourself a songwriter. And you have to for the purposes of copyright, because in copyright you register either lyrics or music. And you have to recognize that the beat you make or the track that you make is considered music for copyright purposes. So Paul is the author or the creator of a composition, right, that is composed of music only. Is that right? No lyrics here. So music only. As soon as he created that composition and fixed it onto this CD, he was entitled to copyright protection. Let me say that again. As soon as whether he created it on Pro Tools, or whether he first created it on Pro Tools, well, once it was embedded on his computer, on his hard drive, or whether he downloaded it onto CD, once he created that beat and fixed it into a tangible form, like a CD, right, or on his hard drive, he was entitled to copyright protection. That's it. So how do you get copyright protection? You just create the doggone thing. Registration is not required in order to get protection. And I don't want anybody else in this room leaving here and saying to somebody, so how do I get my stuff copywritten? Your stuff was copywritten the moment that you created it. The question you're asking is, how do I register the copyright that I already own? That's what you want to know. Under the law, you don't have to register if you don't want to, because it's not required. You still receive the protection. But registration is extremely important and beneficial for a number of reasons. Number one, if somebody were to steal one of Paul's compositions, right, the only way he can sue them in court is with his registration certificate. So why should he register? So that he can get the registration certificate so that he can get into court, right? Another reason that he wants to register is so that, especially, Paul, can I ask you a question? When did you create these beats?
Well, I created the first one yesterday.
Oh, okay, so these are fresh beats. They hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Have these beats been published yet? within 3 months of publication, you're entitled to another benefit called attorney's fees and statutory damages. Now, I'll tell you why that's important. If you didn't register the work within 3 months of publication, so for example, he hasn't registered the work yet, let's say, no problem. No problem. If somebody were to steal the work today, still no problem, because he can go register it, get a certificate, and still take them to court. You can register the work anytime during the life of the copyright. Doesn't matter when you register it, except if you register it within 3 months of it being distributed to the public, you're entitled to get attorney's fees and statutory damages. Now, here's the important thing with the attorney's fees. If somebody infringes your work and you do want to take them to court and you want to hire an attorney, right? Somebody like Jeff or Laquita probably aren't going to take your case if you didn't register it within 3 months of publication, because there's no guarantee that they're going to get paid if you win. When you sue under copyright, copyright is a federal statute, which means you have to do so in federal court, and it's really, really expensive. So you could win, right? And depending on what your damages are, there's a real good chance that your attorney's fees are more than your recovery. But if you registered within 3 months of publication, the judge will award you attorney's fees, so your attorney is covered. So if I know that, I'm more likely to take your case on, knowing that I'm going to get paid if you win. If you didn't, we might have some problems. Yes?
Okay, you say published, it means he gave you his BC.
No, distributed to the public, meaning it's been sold, they've been released. So let's say he sells one of these beats to one of you guys and you put it on your CD and your CD is released. Okay. It's been released and distributed to the public. Handing it to me is not distribution, or not publication.
Okay.
Absolutely. Very good. Good question. All right. So, one benefit, the other benefit, besides attorney's fees, if you register within 3 months of publication, is something called statutory damages. What are statutory damages? Well, let's say if somebody takes one of Paul's beats and they steal it today. They steal it today. He goes to the Library of Congress, the Copyright Office, registers the work, gets the copyright certificate, hires a lawyer, takes him to federal court, and sues, right? What are his damages? What did he lose?
The dignity?
Huh?
The dignity?
Yeah. Dignity's worth poop. He didn't lose any money. He didn't suffer any damages. It wasn't like the thing was distributed worldwide. There was millions of dollars worth of sales. There were no damages. However, if you register within 3 months of publication, there's something called statutory damages. That means there's a minimum amount of damages that you are entitled to receive, so that if your actual damages are nominal or non-existent, you can still get whatever the minimum is under statute, which can be anywhere from, last time I remember, $750 per infringement up to $30,000 per infringement. So even if you can't prove that you actually suffered any damage, you'll still end up getting some recovery. But if you didn't register the work within 3 months of publication, not only do you not get those attorney's fees, but you have to actually prove your damages. And if your damages are $50, then that's what your recovery is going to be. $50. So you'll get your $50, then you'll have your $25,000 attorney bill that you have to pay. That make sense? So those are two of the benefits of registration. There's another benefit of registration, whereby if you register your work within 5 years of publication, so let's say you missed the 3-month mark, right? Okay, you're not getting the attorney's fees, okay, fine, you're not going to get the statutory damages, but there's one thing you will get, and it's called, I'll use the legal term, but then I'm going to take it right back so it doesn't confuse you. It's called prima facie evidence of ownership. But what that really means is, whenever you go to court, the very first thing that you have to prove is that you actually own the copyright in the work. That's the first thing you have to prove. If you register the work within 5 years of publication, all you got to do is hand them your certificate. That's your proof. Hand them your certificate, that's your proof. Because remember, the Copyright Office, they don't go through and verify all the information on the certificate, right? They don't go through and check that stuff. But if the work is registered within 5 years of publication, everything on that certificate is presumed to be true. You walk into court, here's my certificate, okay, I'm an owner. Without that registration within 5 years, you have to actually go through the rigmarole of actually proving that you actually own a valid copyright to the work. And that's a lot of drama. That's where Michael Jackson has videotapes of himself actually recording the song and coming up with the lyrics, and because that's his proof on tape. You got people coming into court testifying, yeah, I saw him do it. I was there when he came up with the beat. It's much easier just to hand them your certificate. And so what we've done now is we've got all these wonderful benefits of registration, which is why you want to go ahead and register it anyway. So with this wonderful CD, Paul Sweeney actually has 2 works that he's going to be registering. The beat, the composition, and the recording of the beat, which is called the sound recording. The composition is actually the musical work, right? But we'll call it the composition. And the recording, the sound recording, is the master. So he owns the rights to the composition and he owns the rights to the master, and that's 2 separate copyrights. So if you look at your cheat sheet, you'll notice I have what type of registration, copyright. What does it cover? The original composition, that's Paul's beat, either his lyrics or his music. In this case, it's just music. And it also covers the original sound recording. In this case, it's the recorded track, right? And where do you register it? www.copyright.gov. Most registration nowadays is done online. You know those old forms with the TX and the SR and the PA? They don't use those anymore. Now you can actually contact the Copyright Office and ask them to send you those forms and they'll mail them to you. But for the most part, those forms are obsolete. They're old school. Now there's only one form and it's called the form CO, right? And it's online. And you can either complete it online and upload your music, right? Or you can complete it online, print it, and mail it in. I think if you do it online, if you upload and just do everything online, I think it's $35. If you print it and mail it in, I think it's $50. $45.
That's what, because if you do it online, like if you keep on creating music, you can upload it to the copyrights.
That's exactly right. It's much easier online. They've really simplified the process. But there's only one form now, and then you just check off what kind of work it is. Sound recording, musical work, whatever the work is. And who benefits or gets paid? So who benefits from copyright registration? The owner or creator of the work. In this case, not only did Paul create the work, but he owns the work in both cases. Right? So he's the songwriter when it comes to the beat, and he's the producer when it comes to the track or the sound. That make sense? So that's your quickie lesson on copyright. Yes, sir?
Is there a limitation on the registration?
What do you mean?
I mean, how long does the registration last? For
Oh,
a
no,
period?
the registration is perpetual. It lasts forever. So you don't necessarily have to go in and renew it. Unless you change the name of the work, you might want to go in and amend the registration. Sometimes, like in Paul's case, the work has not been published. So sometimes once people do publish the work, meaning once they release it, sometimes they'll go in and amend the registration to say that it's been published, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Yes, sir?
When you say published, do you mean you actually sold it as a product or just made it available?
You made it available. There you go. Does not necessarily have to be sold. So if it's put in the stores for retail sale, it's made available for distribution to the public. Even if the public doesn't come in and actually buy it. Absolutely. Very good question. Okay, so that takes care of copyright. Are there any questions? Because I think I just covered, I think I may have taken an extra 15 minutes, but I covered everything there was on registration. All right? Okay, excellent. Thank you for your attention.